While many people rightly say that money is already digital, when world leaders say digital money today, it means cryptocurrency, which is now part of a worldwide scheme to monitor your actions and control your money. This new form of currency will require you to have a unique digital wallet, which is essentially a digital ID. Last spring, European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde said that the ECB will be ready to launch the digital euro by this October. According to the Atlantic Council, 137 countries and currency unions are preparing for a crypto digital currency. 3 countries have already launched theirs: the Bahamas, Jamaica, and Nigeria. CBDCs in the advanced stages are the digital euro, China's digital yuan, India's e-rupee, the United Kingdom's digital pound, Brazil's digital real, and Russia's digital ruble. Hong Kong is preparing to launch a stablecoin. Japan's Financial Services Agency is preparing to launch a Japanese yen stablecoin this fall. And President Trump, who has been pushing stablecoin development, has repeatedly announced that the USA will lead the world in AI and crypto. His family is heavily invested and stand to make billions when the world goes crypto. The Trump family even have their own stablecoin, the USD1 stablecoin from World Liberty Financial. Trump's puppet masters likely have another stablecoin in mind to be the digital dollar, but a puppet can still dream. The only difference between a CBDC, central bank digital currency, and a stablecoin is name only. Both will be programmed according to the nation's financial policies. Both are capable of operating a carbon tax and a social credit score. The only difference is one will be managed by a central bank and the other by a private corporation. In the USA, something like BlackRock. CEO of BlackRock and longtime business associate of President Trump, Larry Fink, was recently appointed interim co-chair of the World Economic Forum. The Trump administration has been normalizing the deployment of the U.S. military as a police force in the streets of America. And according to Fox News, Pentagon officials are about to mobilize National Guard troops in 19 states to assist Homeland Security with President Trump's nationwide crackdown on illegal immigration and crime. This likely means ID checkpoints, because how else will a citizen prove their citizenship? But with a new digital ID, the military police state can simply scan you from a distance with Palantir technology. Doctors are discussing online how President Trump's swollen ankles and hand bruising are indications of congestive heart failure, the bruises on the hand being typical of IV diuretic treatments. The White House says it's from shaking hands. If Trump goes the unfortunate way of the clot shot, which he is still proud of, then J.D. Vance will be president, and he owes everything to Palantir's Peter Thiel, one of technocracy's biggest cheerleaders. The stage is now set for crypto and digital IDs, and if that happens, there will be pushback, especially in the 19 states being supplied with the National Guard. Greg Reese reporting.
For unique perspectives in Christian truth and one-of-a-kind Bible studies, please visit our website, truthhuntershow.com. Help us get around big tech censorship on YouTube, Facebook, and others by subscribing to our website. You can do so by entering your email address right here and click subscribe. Another option is click the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll get a pop-up where you can enter your email address here and click subscribe. To support the work of the Truth Hunters, simply scroll down the page and you'll see ways that you can contribute by PayPal, Patreon, and Venmo. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well out there. It is 10:05 p.m. on September 7th, 2025. This is your host, Doug Diamond, and yes, I am back and not sick this week. Had to take last week off if you guys missed the show, or maybe you didn't miss the show, but we did take the previous show off only because I was not feeling too well. But I am back and seem to have turned a corner several days ago now. I think I'm pretty much over it. So thank you guys in advance and also in the past for your prayers for my well-being, my health. And it was a very interesting last few days for sure, last really 2 weeks. And I think the last broadcast that we did, which would have been, what was that, August the 24th, so 2 weeks ago, I was really starting to feel it that night, and it really hit me hard the next day. So, it's been that long, a couple weeks. So, and then we've got another thing that's happened in the family that I wanted to mention here in a few minutes, and I'll bring you guys up to speed on that as well. And many of you guys know what I'm talking about. So, hello and welcome. This is the Diamond Report Live. We've got 2 to 3 hours tonight, probably, something like that. So feel free to come and go, and we'll have the final version of this show will be out at some point, probably tomorrow, is my guess. That's usually what I shoot for, is putting the final edited version of this show out, usually on Mondays. It just depends, but that's typically what I do. Anyway, hello and welcome, and it's really good to be back. So let's take a look at the news. We've got several things to bring your attention to just right off the bat here, and then we'll see where the night goes. So yes, we've got the chat rolling over on the right side of the screen. I just turned it on, so it will only be the newest comments. So as people are making comments on Facebook and YouTube, they will pop up there on the right hand side of the screen, which is a new feature that we did not have, at least not implemented in this system that I'm using now. So hopefully that will be kind of cool, and we'll see how it goes. But yes, hello and welcome to everybody in the chat. So let's take a look at the first article I have pulled up here, which is on Hal's website, halturnerradioshow.com. I thought this one was pretty interesting. Updated, this was earlier tonight. Unverified, it says, radiation alert in Ukraine. Radiation hazard. Radiation alerts are going off in Ukraine. People in the town of, and I won't try and pronounce it, it's a really long name that starts with K, and there's a lot of consonants. Anyway, you can see here that with this interactive map, it's basically more or less in the middle of the country. So north of Odessa by quite a bit, and south of Kiev. So it's kind of halfway in between the two. This town says the people in that town are being told to take cover, and that brick and or concrete buildings are the best protection from, quote, ionizing radiation. And you can also find protection in basements, they're saying. The scalable map below shows the location of the city, which is more or less, again, in the middle of Ukraine. The radiation alert going out over cellular networks and on TV and radio are telling people to take cover immediately. Below is a machine-translated cellular phone alert. So this was what was put out on the cell phones, I guess, in the immediate area. If you are on the street, immediately take cover in the nearest indoors, or at home. Best protect against ionizing radiation brick, and concrete buildings and buried shelters like basements. If you are in an open area, you use protective equipment, gas mask, respirator. So this is pretty hardcore stuff here. This was actually put out across the cellular networks in Ukraine, in that area. No details are presently available as to why this radiation alert has been issued. No word about any specific target that may have been hit or that may be leaking radiation. No claim anywhere of any type of nuclear explosion. Here is the original Ukrainian language radiation alert. So this is the same thing before translated by the machine. Hal says in his initial reaction here, As of 6 o'clock Eastern, so just a few hours ago, we still have no indication why this alert went out, or if it's real or in error. We still do not have any reports specifically of targets being hit in this area, which may have had any relation to radiation. We still have no claim whatsoever from anyone of any nuclear type explosion. My initial reaction to this is severe. NATO made clear to Russia that if any nuclear radiation, quote, drifts from Ukraine into a NATO member country, that NATO will treat the drifting radiation as an attack and will invoke Article 5, collective self-defense, and then enter the conflict on the side of Ukraine, which that's what they've been holding out for this whole time, really. Russia has made it clear that if NATO invokes Article 5, collective self-defense against Russia, there will be no winner. As all of us know, there's only one type of war where there is no winner, and that would be a nuclear war. The city is in the very heart of the geographical area of Ukraine. At this hour, prevailing winds in that area show a movement of northeast to west towards Poland and southwest towards Romania. So they're showing the wind maps here. Here's another update from a couple hours ago. Despite my best efforts and after having been able to speak to several sources, I cannot verify that there is actually any radiation contamination or leak. So that's good news. But it is undeniable that the alerts went out. It's also undeniable that absolutely no source is verifying any aspect of this. It's like a lid has been slammed on any and all information. One source told me, quote, a device that sloppy Ukrainians are working on revealed itself. Now everyone has to scramble to conceal what they were working on. I spoke to a nuclear ordnance guy, Hal says. I asked him what is the maximum distance at which a UN-detonated nuclear warhead can be detected. He replied, 6 to 60 meters, and then only under ideal conditions. 60 meters is only about 200 feet. I then asked, what is the maximum distance that a potential dirty bomb can be detected? He replied, it depends on the material that they're using in the dirty bomb. But even the most potent radioactive material can only be detected tens of meters away, at most 150 meters, when completely unshielded. He added, if someone was working on a dirty bomb with a powderized radioactive component and that device went off accidentally inside of a building, then the powdered radioactive debris would be hurled into the air. Hurled into the air depending upon how badly the building was damaged. So if someone was doing sloppy work and caused an accident, there could be radiation detected at a distance. Says, no one is talking. I have no further information that I can reliably report on. So that was kind of a long story there, but I just wanted to see what Hal was saying about this, just because it's kind of a big deal. And Chernobyl Revisited, Tommy saying, we don't know, we hope not, of course, but it could just be a false alarm and they're running tests and who knows what. However, it is very interesting, isn't it, especially the timing of all of this and quote-unquote peace negotiations and so forth, which who knows if that's actually going to work out, but it may not. But what better way to keep peace from happening by allowing either some sort of dirty bomb or nuclear incident to happen and then point the finger at and blame who else but Putin and Russia. That's, of course, what they would do. That's the whole reason that they would even launch an attack against themselves, i.e. a false flag. So let's hope that's not what's going on. And Hal is not saying that that is what's going on. However, I just wanted to bring your attention to it. I felt like it was pretty important. And it is certainly something that we can try and keep an eye on as much as possible. And Hal certainly will. He does a really good job with this type of information. HalTurnerRadioShow.com on his site. And then speaking of cellular emergency alerts, this was another one that happened earlier. Millions of UK mobile phones received test message. So it's happening in the UK, although this is a different type of message. Phones across the UK received a government-issued alert today at 3 o'clock as part of a national test. The UK's emergency alert system is designed to warn people if there is danger to life, nearby, including outbreaks of extreme weather in specific areas. And what he's posted here says, Hal Turner's gift for the obvious. It appears to me that this is a preparation of something that is not at all connected to weather issues. War! Exclamation point. Here's what Hal's saying. So anyway, this is the, the screenshot of the severe alert happening in the UK as well. So they're running some sort of an alert test today too. So pretty interesting that both of these things have happened in the same day. A couple other articles that I thought I would mention tonight just because he's got them on his site and they're front and center at the moment. Key recession signal flashing red. Key recession signal is flashing red. U.S. construction spending fell 2.8% year over year in July, one of the biggest drops since the 2008 financial crisis. This also marks the 6th consecutive monthly decline. Oh, but I thought we were in the best economy ever. That's what Trump is telling us. Are you seeing that? Because I'm certainly not seeing that. Are there some good things happening? Yes, but there's way more bad than good, in my opinion. So Hal's got some more information on this specific thing if you're interested in this recession signal flashing red article. And then this one as well, auto debt crisis looming. I thought this was kind of interesting. If you happen to own a car out there, the car market bubble is bursting. Subprime auto loan delinquency rates have now surpassed 5% for the first time in history. The 60-day delinquency rate for subprime auto loans has more than doubled over the last 3 years. Delinquency rates are now 1.5 percentage points above the 2008 financial crisis peak. So looking at 2008 again. So that is not good news. Meanwhile, total value of auto loans in the U.S. jumped $13 billion to a record $1.66 trillion in second quarter of this year. An auto debt crisis is brewing. So people are getting in a little too deep, I guess, on the old car loans, but you kind of have to have a car still at this point, don't you? So speaking of cars, we had our run-in with cars this week, and I wanted to show you guys not any specifics too much, but had a lot of people asking about how my wife is doing, and she had a very, very close call this last week. Actually, it was just over a week ago. It was on the 29th, August 29th, which was a couple Fridays back now. She was simply driving to work, and a woman wasn't paying attention and basically turned right in front of her, smashed into her, and drove her right off the road. And my wife was unhurt in the accident, which was truly amazing, considering everything that could have happened. And she was going probably 30 or 35 miles an hour down the road and had the right of way. This other lady turned right in front of her. And we're looking here at the intersection, more or less, where it happened. And she was traveling north here on this road where it says 431. She was traveling that way, and she had just turned left off of this road onto this road, this main road, and was heading into the office about a mile away, probably. And a lady had pulled out right here on this road and turned left right into my wife and literally drove her right off of the road. And she went down in this embankment right here. The car stayed upright. It did not flip over, which was a huge blessing that didn't happen. But she did say that she was airborne. She felt like she was flying a couple of times and was trying to hit the brakes in midair. And obviously that wasn't working out too well. So she went kind of down through this whole area right here and came to rest before hitting one of these trees. Or if she hit a tree, she didn't hit it very hard, we don't think. We still have yet to see the car. But we did get a report back from the company that has the car, and it is totaled. So we do know that much. She did essentially walk away from the accident. So thank you guys for praying for my wife. Her name's Michelle, and for our family. And yeah, it could have been far, far worse. And we are very happy and thankful that she was okay. She did walk away from it, unlike my accident, quote-unquote, accident that happened back in 2016, and we won't go into that tonight, but we've now both had very close calls, as one might say. So anyways, thank you guys for praying for my wife, and she is bruised and I would say pretty sore from being bounced around so much. The car is in way worse shape, let's put it that way. But yeah, she is pretty much made a full recovery and will be working from home as much as she can for the next few days as well. So this all happened again on the 29th of August, which when I saw that, I'm like, 2 and 9 is 11. And of course, my accident happened on April 11th, several years back, 2016. So I always look for 11s, and I wasn't disappointed when I realized that it was 29, which is 11 as well to me. So I don't know what that means exactly, other than I do feel like God or angels or somebody was watching out for her and for all of us. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that. And the other crazy thing about this is, if you go down the road here just a little ways towards where her office is, you might see something else that you recognize when you get to right here. That is the Covenant School, as in the Covenant School, where just over 2 years ago, the trans shooter goes in there and blows away all those people that were simply at school trying to have a regular day, and 6 people were shot and killed. So that's how close her office is, literally just right across the road here from the school, and that's basically about where the car accident was as well. So let's just say this area of town is not really helping us too much right now. No, but it could have been far worse, but luckily she was okay. I just wanted to mention all of that. Some people had asked, and I wanted to give you a few details, although we don't have a whole lot of details on the actual accident yet, because it happened over a holiday weekend in the U.S., basically, which was Labor Day weekend. The police report and stuff even as of just a day or so ago, still was not even online yet. So we still don't have all of the information worked out. We're still working through things with her insurance, the lady's insurance that hit her, and then our insurance shouldn't have to pay anything, obviously. But it was not an illegal. I do know that much. It was not an illegal, and the lady that hit her admitted to doing it. So I don't really know where it will go from here, other than that, I know it's in God's hands. So anyway, I just wanted to mention all of that stuff and kind of bring you up to speed what's been happening in the Diamond household in the last 10 days or so. So anyways, yeah, thanks again for you guys for prayers for us. So let's keep going with the news here. We've got a few articles pulled up on needtoknow.news, which is another site that I like to look at, just because they have generally pretty good headlines and good articles here. This is one of the bigger stories from this week, not specifically this thing, but Kennedy, as in RFK Jr., sparred with senators during a wild testimony. And this is just one little segment here, one little outtake, where he says to Elizabeth Warren, "You have taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies." He told her. Of course, she kind of glossed over that little detail when she was barking at him. But RFK Jr., the head of Health and Human Services, faced bipartisan grilling at a rancorous 3-hour Senate committee hearing. That was earlier this week. Kennedy said the fired CDC director, Susan Monarez, was untrustworthy. He stood by his past anti-Bernie rhetoric, and he disputed reports of people saying they have had difficulty getting that's what Elizabeth Warren was saying, and others. As Democrat senators read prepared zingers to try and corner RFK Jr. over his niece and other issues, Kennedy hit back with several very specific haymakers during the session, calling the Democratic lawmakers liars, and even pointing out that Elizabeth Warren has taken nearly $1 million from pharmaceutical companies. I would say, yeah, that's the public number that we have. Who knows what the real number is? So anyway, but yeah, the video clip is here. Full 3-hour session, actually, of the Senate hearing is here embedded on this page if you guys want to see any of the fireworks. But it was pretty interesting. And of course, Kennedy himself he's got injured. He's talked about it numerous times, that the reason that he has so much trouble talking was from taking, I think it was a shoe years and years ago, and it affected his vocal cords, his ability to speak. That's why he has such a hard time. And yet these people just are shameless. They just continue to obviously try and make him look as bad as possible. So I think he's doing a good job. Yes, I do think there's room for improvement, of course, but I do think that he is trying to get things done. And of course, there is a lot of mutineers below him and people that need to be gotten rid of as far as fired from their jobs, and hopefully that will happen. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I think he means well and is trying to do something with the power that he has been given. So we'll see where it goes. But anyway, there are further Twitter embedded tweets and then a few other video links and stuff here in this article as well. Needtoknow.news. And then this one too. Trump bombs Venezuelan boat, killing 11 people. Interesting number. Provoking conflict and concern over regime change. So that's kind of the big question here. This is Maduro, the president of Venezuela. Trump authorized a strike against a Venezuelan boat that reportedly killed 11 people. Trump claimed that the boat was carrying drugs and the people on the boat were Tren de Aragua gang members, TDA. They have been designated as a terrorist organization. Critics are calling the strike an extrajudicial killing without the lawful authority granted by a judicial proceeding. Well, that is true. However, they were in, I believe, international waters. Marco Rubio, announced that Trump is looking to wage war against narco-terrorists and that cooperative governments are going to help us identify them. They're going to help us find these people and blow them up. If that's what it takes, they're going to help us with it. So again, from the president of peace, here we go, blowing up boats. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world, but you're not supposed to notice that. Estimated at approximately 303 billion barrels. Despite this vast resource, the country faces significant challenges in oil production due to economic instability, mismanagement, and international sanctions. Critics are concerned that the Trump administration is after its oil due to a statement that he made back in June of 2023 at a press conference in North Carolina when Trump said, When I left, Venezuela was about to collapse. We would have taken over. We would have kept all that oil, he said a couple of years back. So does he still mean it? I tend to think he probably does, and that there probably are ulterior motives here that aren't necessarily just having to do with illegal drugs pouring in to the United States. I do think that that is obviously one of the cover stories anyway, but it seems to me like it's probably more about oil and taking over. So I would love to be wrong, but it sure is looking that way. And, you know, when they blow a boat out of the water and kill everybody on board, no judge, no jury, it's just kaboom, and they're all killed. Obviously, we're taking their word for it that that's even who these people were. We don't know, and we'll never know. So I don't know. It's one of those things where obviously it's not an ideal situation whether you are a supporter of Trump or not, and it certainly is not if you happen to be on that boat. So if you are blown up like that, there is really nothing much you could do about it, is there? So yes, they went to meet their maker pretty quickly, and who knows? But to me, this whole thing seems kind of reeks a little bit, if you ask me, as far as doing exactly the same type of stuff that the CIA does, the Mossad does, and MI5, MI6 does, and Israel. It's the same thing they do. They just kill people execution style, blow their ships up or blow their vehicles up and just kill them, and you have to take our word for it that they are who we said they were. So we don't know. I certainly don't trust them, and I don't really like either aspect of this whole thing, really. But anyway, the video footage is here, and then there's further information on this page as well. So, yep, we'll see where it goes. But they did, as I mentioned several weeks ago now, they have sent some American ships down to Venezuela. So my guess is they have more planned. Unstoppable. Xi unveils nuclear triad and military parade, challenging the West alongside Putin and Kim. Chinese leader Xi Jinping held a massive military parade in Tiananmen Square, marking the end of World War II and Japan's surrender. The parade was attended by world leaders including Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Trump responded to the images of the trio by posting a sarcastic message, "Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." Yeah, he did say that in a Truth Social post, and it was signed by his name, so it wasn't just, people on his staff that put the information out. It was from him. Unlike many of the Truth Social posts that you see, things that get reposted and things like that, not saying Trump doesn't have final approval on anything going out on that account. Of course he does, but he does have staff that also post things for him. But in this case, that's not what happened. So he's actually saying, as you conspire against the United States of America, talking to Kim Jong-un and Putin and Xi Jinping. Trump also underscored America's World War II defeat of Japan, which ultimately secured lasting peace for China. No, Xi did not give a shout out to the United States for this, but instead, Xi stood proudly with his U.S.-sanctioned allies. In a rare hot mic moment at the China parade, Xi and Putin discuss how organ transplants and other advances may allow people to live to 150 this century. Yes, they know all about organ transplants, don't they, in China? China's been accused of forcing organ harvesting on political prisoners for transplants for profit. Yes, they have been. They've been doing that for a long time. So anyway, yeah, and then more about that as we go tonight. But yeah, there's certainly a lot to read here on the whole deal with the organ harvesting that they happen to mention off the cuff as well. So that's pretty interesting. Quite a hot mic moment on CCTV in Beijing today as Putin and Xi, both 72, are caught casually talking about living to 150 and maybe forever thanks to organ transplants. You mean organ harvesting. So finding victims there and literally just throwing them in jail until it's time to harvest organs. And that's exactly what they do. Anyway, that is on needtoknow.news. And then one more from the same site. Thought this one was not really new news, but at least they're admitting it. U.S. State Department group admits that the Gaza famine is real. And it's from Israel. That's an interesting little word salad there at the top of the page. The Famine Early Warning System Network, FuseNet. The Famine Early Warning System, which has historically been funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development, i.e. USAID, but it is now funded by the U.S. State Department, issued a report on August 22nd, the same day as the United Nations IPC report, stating that famine is ongoing in the Gaza Governorate, which includes Gaza City. How about that? So they're saying officially it is happening when you got Netanyahu saying, no, it's not happening. Gaslighting the entire world. The reports attribute the crisis directly to Israeli policies blocking aid and restricting food, with findings based on stringent surveys and data, including child malnutrition measurements. U.S. officials and Israeli leaders nevertheless continue to deny responsibility. So you still have people in the U.S. administration here that are denying that it's even going on, when their own administration is saying it's happening. The report noted the killing of Palestinians near aid distribution sites run by U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Over 700 deaths linked to the distribution of aid were reported across the Gaza Strip in July alone, including 390 in or near GHF distribution sites in the south. So, and then there's a Jimmy Dore show, I guess, where they're talking about that is embedded here on the page too. So further information is available on this article on needtoknow.news. And again, make sure you're on the Substack list. Got lots of new folks who are following what I'm doing on Substack. So thank you guys and welcome. And make sure that you're on the Substack list so that you get the emails when I send those out. But that you'll find that on the crawler across the bottom of the screen. Eventually it will get there. It will say diamonddisk.substack.com. So make sure you guys are on that list so that I can send you all of the links on all the articles that I talk about tonight and just stay in touch in general, which I think is a good thing in this day and age. How your tax dollars built Palantir's global surveillance empire. You might be surprised to know that is a technocracy.news article, and it's also a video embedded here as well. I can vouch for every fact, analysis, and conclusion in this video by Vanessa Wingard. Peter Thiel and Alex Karp have effectively dominated the world for the intel community. Do you care? Question mark. You will after listening to the end. Disrupting America is good for us? Question mark. If we miss the train, we will get our heads cut off. If we are the enemies, will they kill us? Question mark. All hinted by Alex Karp. The more that I analyze Alex Karp and Peter Thiel, the more I understand just maniacally insane, how just maniacally insane that they are. Patrick Wood says here in this article. And then this lady here, she has a pretty good YouTube channel. I started following what she was doing probably a week or two ago now. And this particular video is how your tax dollars built Palantir's global surveillance empire. Vanessa Wingard. So again, she's doing some good work here. She's saying millions of Americans have files in government databases, their movements, purchases, and communications connected by software from a company called Palantir. And the worst part is that we help fund its creation. And then it goes into what does Palantir do and so forth, something we've talked about often on this show and played videos about the whole thing. So yes, part of the beast system, which is being built out right in front of us and has been for some time. So quite a bit of info on this particular article, certainly worth a look. And yes, Palantir is something that needs to be watched, but obviously the surveillance grid has already been built out long before they were even really part of it. But I think there's going to be a pretty big part of it in the coming years. So it is important to keep an eye on what they're doing. Another technocracy.news article, I've mentioned this this idea several times lately, and this is a further article about this. Why are household electricity bills soaring? Well, ask AI, this says. It's a train wreck, and it will get much worse. American consumers should be enraged because they are forced to pay for ginormous data centers being constructed all over the country. Worse, the burgeoning power demand is stressing the power grid to its limit. Prices for oil, natural gas, and coal are historically low, reflecting the war on carbon. Ask any lineman if they think the grid is going to pop. Patrick Wood, again, stating here on this article. So, and it's talking about power, where the power bills are getting bigger. Many U.S. states, especially within the PJM grid area, PJM interconnection, the PJM grid area suffered big increases in average household power bills over the past year. So just the past year here, and I'm in Tennessee here, and you'll see I've mentioned several times that our power bill is going up every month. It's going up at least 10%. I mean, it keeps going up and up and up. We're in one of the red states here. And I don't mean that as far as Republicans go. I mean, as far as a 10% increase in electric. So note change in average last 12 months electric bill from May 2024 to 2025. New Jersey residents whose 13.3% bill increase was the third highest in the U.S. can perhaps draw some comfort from New York faring worse where bills surged 14.4%. More pertinently, 94% of the increase in PJM wholesale power prices, which covered generation and transmission, but not distribution charges, although may related to the energy component, according to Monitoring Analytics, the grid's independent marketing monitor. So anyway, talking about how the prices continue to go up because we're having to fund the building out of all of these new data centers for AI, which of course will replace much of what we're all doing day to day, especially if you have any sort of white collar job. You will be replaced, my friend. Just wait. So anyway, that is one of the top 3 articles here on technocracy.news. And then this one too, I mentioned this last time as well, although this is a different, newer article. The AI toy agenda, how Silicon Valley is rewiring our kids' minds. The continuous assault on children, perpetrated mainly by technocrats, is hideously evil. A whole generation of kids was horribly damaged by the Great Panic of 2020. And you know what that was? With masks and injectables. Then came the trans phenomenon, body-altering surgery and psychotropic drugs. Now comes AI-driven toys. Sam Altman and OpenAI see no problem with partnering with Mattel to create a line of toys to scramble and rewire young minds. So you can see where this one's going. Yeah, make no mistake, companies like Curio and their magical universe of AI companions, Grok and Gabbo, G-A-B-B-O, aren't selling toys. They're selling techno-spiritual replacement therapy, a project spearheaded in part by musician Grimes, Elon Musk's former partner and the mother of his children, who voiced the Grok character and aimed to create screen-free alternatives amid her own family dynamics. So that's pretty interesting, huh? Partnership between Mattel and OpenAI should send chills down every parent's spine. An AI Barbie isn't just a toy, it's a data harvesting operation disguised as play. Every whispered secret, every emotional confession, every vulnerable moment is being recorded, analyzed, and fed into corporate algorithms that know more about your child's inner world than you do. So just remember, they are listening. The toys are listening. And I don't mean that in a good way. So, quite a bit here on this article. Certainly worth the read, especially if you've got kids or grandkids. Many of you guys probably do, I'm guessing. So that is a technocracy.news article. One that I think is certainly worth the look. Because that one definitely affects us all. And right away. Because we've got the holidays coming, believe it or not. All right, a couple of Liberty Beacon articles. Trump's economic triumphs will end the murderous mercantilist British Empire. Yeah, I don't know that I buy that, but let's see what this says. It says, come on, civil war in Europe was inevitable. The New World Order globalist oppressors build a system that is failing so hard, not one sector of any of their captured economies is working properly. Europe is in a recession directly as a result of these boneheaded policies. The working people of every country are fit to be tied, and September 13th, coming up here, is looking to be the day of days of protests in the UK with millions on the street instead of the pierced and purple-haired scavenger class littering the cities with their puffy bodies and wrecked minds. These are the people who make the country work, and they have considerable economic power. That's true, but they're also scared to death of their government. So I don't know. Yes, I do think that will be a huge march on September 13th, and that's good, but the BBC and the other media networks will most likely ignore it as much as possible, because obviously they're on the side of tyranny. It says it's just as bad in every other country in Western Europe as in France above, and in Britain, the migrant crime explosion is so bad, members of the middle class are in tense meetings with British parliamentary leaders who are sharply aware of how much trouble that they're in. Yeah. So anyway, they're there are some people speaking up, but I remember reading pretty recently that at least 30 people a day were being arrested and jailed for their posts on social media. So as long as they can continue with that crackdown, people will be too afraid to talk, which is exactly why what they want to do ultimately. So there's quite a bit here on this article on the Liberty Beacon. So certainly worth keeping an eye on. And the guy in charge ultimately over there, of course, is King Charles. And we've talked about him many times on this show. We are keeping a close eye on that guy because he is, in my opinion, and many, many others, the soon-to-be biblical Antichrist. He's the one in charge over there. And it's important to see where it all goes, because wherever they go, we probably will too. Sharia law, ? U.S. Police Department introduces an Arabic patch. Police Department in Michigan has introduced a uniform patch that has Arabic writing on it, prompting fierce backlash. Yeah, I think they have reversed this already, according to something I saw earlier. Dearborn Heights in Michigan. Police Department in Dearborn Heights is believed to be the first in the country to have a patch with a language other than English. So isn't that nice? Dearborn Heights Police Department in Michigan becomes the first in the country to offer a police patch in Arabic. Looking to see if they... Oh, here it is right here. Here's a picture of it. The patch includes a Michigan seal in the center with the words Dearborn Heights Police written in both English and Arabic. It was introduced under the authority of recently appointed police chief Ahmed Hader. And there he is. So that explains a lot, doesn't it? So anyway, Dearborn, Michigan is, I think, fallen, it appears. But yeah, I don't know that that this is going to be the way it is in the immediate. I sort of think this has been overturned, but it's just a matter of time. If it didn't work this time, they'll come back again, and they'll come back again, and they'll come back again. That's the way it always works. That is a Liberty Beacon article, and then one more from this same site. Candace digs into the dubious Stanford prison experiment in Prisoner 2093. So I thought that was kind of interesting. She's been in the news a lot with the whole Brigitte Macron story. It says more stunning research from Candace, which has likely been about Deep Stater Brigitte forever, and revelations also probably well known somewhere about the fake Philip Zimbardo Stanford prison experiment, which allegedly revealed the levels to which humans can sink as cruel authoritarians under certain structured conditions. Was Brigitte part of this? ? Was she a prisoner and subject of 2093? Was she a prisoner and subject 2093? Why was the French establishment so interested in this experiment prior to Macron first taking office? It's an interesting dig into the subject. And it says, notes, intro here, why hasn't Jean-Michel Trogneau ever sued Candace Owens? He could defend himself, but he has not. Further, it's crazy to have filed this lawsuit against her in the U.S. since U.S. culture doesn't play into the sue to shut someone up political practice. Yeah, doesn't work quite as well over here. Before Candace's break, there was a cliffhanger. Who is the young man in the famous Philip Zimbardo Stanford prison experiment from 1971? Who looks like JMT from the side? JMT as in Jean-Michel Trogneau. This was prisoner number 2093. So that's where they're going with this, saying that Trogneau may have been one of these people that was being experimented on. And that's very possible. Who knows? If he thinks he's a woman. So, anyway, yep, leave it to Candace. She is constantly uncovering very interesting information out there. She's doing good work, for sure. Susan says, is there a jihad training compound in Dearborn? Well, if there's not yet, there probably will be soon. Yeah, that's a very astute question. I don't know. But yeah, Dearborn, and I know Minnesota has a lot of Somalis. So, you know, there are several states definitely that have a very heavy Muslim influence. All right, so that was a Liberty Beacon article. And then this one from MSN, RFK Jr., HHS to link to Tylenol use in pregnancy and folate deficiencies. So this has kind of all come out this week as well. RFK Jr. plans to announce that pregnant women's use of the over-the-counter pain medication, meaning Tylenol, probably heard of it, is potentially linked to in a report that will also suggest a medicine derived from folate can be used to treat symptoms of the developmental disorder in some people familiar with the matter said. The report, expected this month from the HHS, is likely to suggest as among the potential causes of low levels of folate, an important vitamin in Tylenol taken during pregnancy, people familiar with the matter said. The agency also plans to pinpoint a form of folate known as folinic acid as a way to decrease the symptoms of which affected roughly 1 in 31 8-year-olds in the U.S. in 2022. Yeah, that number is even higher now. 1 in 31, that's kind of an old number. Tylenol, whose active ingredient is acetaminophen, is a widely used pain reliever, including by pregnant women. Some previous studies have indicated risks to fetal development, but others have found no association. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists says it is safe to use in pregnancy, though it recommends that pregnant women consult their doctor before using it, as with all medicines. Yeah, but not Denise. That's totally fine. You're supposed to take all your Denise while you're pregnant, if you didn't know that. Now, they always said before, never ever take a Denise while you're pregnant, and that all shifted when the book came out. Now they're recommended all these different Denise that you're supposed to take while you're pregnant now. So, obviously, the abortion industry is alive and well, and that's why. So, anyway, yeah, now they're linking to Tylenol. So I didn't know if you knew about that, but that's coming out more and more, and who knows? There probably is a link, but if you ask me, these guys, they're still the number one cause because it really didn't exist much before that. All right, and then, anyway, that's an MSN article. And then, let's see here, a couple other X articles that I pulled up for tonight as well. Ed Martin, who is a name you probably heard of, he had recently spoken with Tina Peters, who is wrongfully imprisoned in Colorado for literally doing what the law told her to do. She did that, and now she's in prison. Just spoke with Tina Peters from her prison cell. What a privilege. What a lady. God bless her. Tina, we are coming for you, ma'am. According to Ed Martin. So let's hope that's the case, although this is here she is here. This is a state issue, though. I'm not really sure how much the Trump administration can help, but they're saying free Tina and jail Jenna Griswold. She was that kooky lady who Tina was working with, and yeah, she got off totally scot-free. So anyways, there's more here on this post. Free Tina Peters. So anyway, yeah, she just had a birthday, I guess, and it's not looking too good. She is still there. So, but hopefully she will be out pretty soon. But the good news is, it sounds like Ed Martin and company are going to do what they can to help her. So that's really good news for her. And then this one is just an X post as well from Joe Rogan's channel. 7 out of X amount of school shooters, 7 in a row, 7 school shooters in a row have been trans, except one that was non-binary, which is just diet trans. So yeah, it's not the guns. It is mental illness. And then I mentioned the Covenant shooting. That is the girl who thought she was a guy at the Covenant shooting. And then here are all the others, including this one, being the newest one from the Catholic school just the other day. So transgenderism is a mental illness. So anyway, there's some interesting posts here on this main post, which is a video clip, again, where they're talking about 7 in a row have been trans shooters. So I don't think that is a coincidence, and it's not all mental illness. I mean, yes, that is part of it, but you can also look at the drugs. They're pretty much all going to be on SSRIs or some sort of really heavy drugs. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting one as well. That one's just an X post. All hands on deck. You're not going to believe what's about to unfold in Asheville, North Carolina. I thought this one was kind of an interesting one just to bring up, because the guy that is being mentioned here in this story, Matt Van Swol, is a guy that I mentioned on this broadcast numerous times, somebody that I follow on X. And he's doing a pretty good job. I think he has found some interesting information here. It says, all hands on deck, folks, because Asheville, North Carolina is about to torch $2.9 million of taxpayer money in the name of racial reparations. That's right. While working families are still trying to maneuver the leftovers of Biden's inflation, one county is ready to dump millions into one of the most divisive and dangerous social engineering experiments that has ever unfolded in America. But what's really scary is that it isn't just some random half-baked idea. There's actually a 170-page report spelling out exactly how they plan to do it, and it's so much worse than you think. This is full-blown race weaponization using hard-earned taxpayer dollars to bankroll left-wing pet projects and keep the political victimhood machine running at full speed. Former U.S. Department of Energy nuclear scientist Matt Van Swol dug into the 170-page report himself, and he couldn't believe what he found. Buckle up, folks. You're not going to believe what Asheville, North Carolina is about to roll out. DEI and critical race theory are so powerful and destructive that they can wipe out an entire country. So what's unfolding in Asheville is bigger than one budget. This is how the left weaponizes race, funnels taxpayer dollars into their political machine, and hides it all under yet another equity, quote-unquote, feel-good label. It's not about lifting people up, it's about control. DEI and reparations aren't about healing or opportunity. They divide people into categories of oppressor or oppressed. And they then require endless money and power to fix a problem they don't even want solved, because once the victim machine stops running, the money and political power stop flowing, and they can't have that. So that's the end part of the story here. So it sounds like it's mostly based on critical race theory and some other nonsense here. DEI. The report is furious that only 14% of total community development block grants were awarded to black-led nonprofits when less than 10% of the population of Asheville, North Carolina is black. To eliminate the disparity, the report recommends a black chamber of commerce. Could you imagine calling for the establishment of a white chamber of commerce? No, you couldn't. Furthermore, government entities will support them through procurement and grant funding. What about hiring? Well, there's a brand new policy. It's called the No Diverse Finalist Policy. If there are no diverse candidates, the chair must justify this to HR. This is the real policy they want implemented. You thought DEI went away? Guess again. If you're a manager at the city of Asheville, they want you to take a mandatory can't get out of it DEI training course. Want to be a police officer in Buncombe County? Well, you've got to take implicit bias awareness training. If you refuse, you're fired. You thought it had to just do with adults? No, they want to create direct incentives to treat students differently by race, including tying it to school funding. It explicitly calls for school funding to be linked to racial equity metrics. This is insanity. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the USAID stuff that was happening that Doge uncovered. So, as you can tell, it is still going on. So this is something going on in Asheville, North Carolina. Pretty wild. And then I came across this one too, just because I was kind of wondering the other day, realizing that we hadn't seen old Joe, at least not recently. Joe Biden emerges with a massive head wound in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. So I looked at the picture and I'm like, well, I don't really see a massive head wound. Well, that's not the same picture. Joe Biden drew attention over Labor Day weekend after being spotted with a large gash on his head while attending services in Delaware. Footage captured in Rehoboth Beach showed the 82-year-old leaving a church with a red wound across the front of his head, partially covered by his hair. Here, you can see it here. What happened to Joe Biden's head on this Twitter post from Gunther Eagleman. You can see it here. Looks like stitch marks in it. The video posted to social media prompted questions about Biden's health. That's what everybody is asking. So, anyway, says that it was I was a little surprised because it's such a noticeable scar. Spokesman for Biden confirmed Thursday that he recently underwent Mohs surgery, M-O-H-S, Mohs surgery, a common procedure for treating skin cancer. The operation removes layers of skin until all cancerous tissue is eliminated while preserving as much healthy skin as possible. It is unclear when Biden had the surgery, although he was previously seen with the bandage on his head in late August. And it's not the first time he's undergone such treatment. So anyway, it looks like that's probably what it is. But who knows? He may also have had a recent brain replacement surgery too. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, pretty big scar there though. Pretty wild. And then this was a big story the last few days. If you guys are on X at all, you probably saw this. The Philadelphia Phillies baseball team. Phillies game Karen caught on video snatching child's baseball. So this was the story here. Social media erupted against a woman dubbed Baseball Karen after she scolded a father over a home run ball during Philadelphia Phillies and Miami Marlins game on Saturday. So this was just yesterday. The woman, not yet identified, which actually that's not true. She has been identified and talked about a lot on X, was seen on video bending to catch a home run ball hit by Phillies center fielder when a man suddenly rushed over, grabbed the ball, and passed it to his child. So yeah, I think he got it on a bounce. If you watch the video, you can kind of see what's going on. The visibly upset woman then approached the man, apparently claiming that the ball was hers. A few seconds later, the startled father asked his child to return the ball to her. So dad was able to get a home run ball for his son, but a Karen in this section was not going to let him keep it. So here you can see what's going on here. Here he is running. See, he just kind of was the first one to it. And then she comes out of nowhere and then just lets him have it. And that's why she is now called the Baseball Karen, apparently, the Phillies Karen. So he ends up capitulating and giving it back to her. Because obviously he doesn't want to argue with her, apparently. So that was kind of the gist of the story. Well, that was the first part of what happened, but then the baseball teams kind of stepped in here. Although the ball was taken from him, the story ended on a high note for the child. And the ballpark is called Lone Depot Park. As a Lone Depot Park official approached him and gave him official souvenirs. After the home run ball was snatched from the kid, the Marlins, the other team, stepped up with a gift package, and the Phillies hooked him up with a signed ball. So he got a signed ball and some other stuff. So I guess it worked out okay for the kid. So I didn't know if you knew about the Phillies Karen person that has been making the rounds on social media. Yes, they did find out who she was, I guess, and obviously people trying to ruin her life online, which I don't necessarily agree with that. But yeah, she was very clearly, people have exposed that she was a Biden voter and all this stuff now. So obviously, it kind of goes hand in hand with the exact type of person you think she is. You're pretty much right. So, yeah, we got the Phillies Karen that took the kids' baseball in 4K. This is somebody that posted some funny memes and things about this. So you can see how they've taken this lady and used AI to adjust it into the Phillies lady. So I want to talk to your manager. And this is funny. So now they've got Elizabeth Warren with the same hairstyle as this lady. So anyway, Karen Ball Snatcher. So you can see where it's going, but it's going from bad to worse, apparently. At least on X it is. All right, and then Headline USA report trans shooter's ex-girlfriend. I saw that, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Didn't he think he was a girl? Trans shooter's ex-girlfriend is a furry. A furry. A photo shared by this person, Botic, shows her in a kitten-like hat with fur. So, yeah, it's all totally normal. Here she is here with the furry hat. Puzzling details about Minneapolis shooter Rob Westerman, born Robert Westman, have surfaced online, including a long-term relationship with a woman. Westman reportedly broke up with Abigail just weeks before savagely killing children and injuring 8 others at the Annunciation Catholic Church on August 27th. The 23-year-old trans-identified shooter described his girlfriend here as the, quote, root of my suffering, and a blue hair and pronouns B-I-H, let's just say that, in manifestos reviewed by the Daily Mail. Headline USA independently verified some of the images published by the Daily Mail on this girl's Facebook page, which has been inundated with hostile comments. So, Westman allegedly broke up with this girl on July 27th, telling her that he needed space. In another entry, he wrote that he spared her life because killing her would have derailed his planned mass shooting. Yeah, he didn't want to mess that up. I just pointed my pistol at the back of her head to see if I would feel anything, he wrote. Wow. I mean, total evil. No, the only thing I felt was fear of them turning around and catching me. I felt no remorse or fear of killing them. I was only concerned about how murdering Abby would really F up my plans, he says. So he bought all of his guns to KILL Kids. So that's how sick and twisted this guy was. So forget the furry. It kind of really, to me, explains more about the kid, about the guy. I think this is his dad. Robert and James. Yeah, James is his dad. So anyway, Headline USA story. I thought that was pretty disturbing and kind of interesting as well. So that one is available on headlineusa.com. Information Liberation Holocaust Museum pulls post saying never again can't only apply to Jews. The Holocaust Museum of Los Angeles on Saturday took down an Instagram post that said never again can't only mean never again for Jews. So I guess then it can't only mean that means that it can only mean that. So it's okay when they do it, apparently, is what they're saying. So yes, this guy demanding that MAGA fall in line with MIGA, make Israel great again, which I'm sure the Trump administration is doing a good job of that one. Trump confirms Iran strike was for Israel, laments waning power of Israel lobby. That's only because everybody is figuring out that Netanyahu is evil. AIPAC-funded Republicans, on behalf of the ADL, launch investigation into Wikipedia for, quote, anti-Semitism. So even Wikipedia is not above being called anti-Semitic. Beverly Hills, as in the rich place in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, to display Israeli flags in public schools. So figure that one out. That's where the money is, right? That's the people that run Hollywood. So I guess it's not that surprising. That is Information Liberation headlines, a few of them. Thought this one was kind of interesting. This was a story from a few days ago now, but Russia's getting blamed for this. And I was just going to posit that I don't think it was them at all. I think it was probably, well, let's look at what the article's saying here. Did Russia really jam Ursula von der Leyen's plane? The data says otherwise. Now, keep in mind, this is RT.com. Of course, they're going to support Russia, but claims of interference from Brussels, parroted by the Western press, are seemingly crashing back down to earth. A flurry of reports from EU officials and Western media claimed this week that Russia jammed the plane carrying European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen into Bulgaria. So Russia got the blame for it here. The tale of hybrid warfare in the skies made front-page news across an unquestioning mainstream press, but flight tracking data shows something very different to what has been widely reported, and Bulgaria has so far backed it up. What Brussels claimed happened. So yes, they blamed Russia for her GPS being jammed. And it says how the scare took off. Does the data back the drama? No. Flight Radar 24, the go-to service Western journalists themselves usually rely on for in-flight information, on Monday quietly brought the claims flying out of Brussels back down to earth. Its data showed good GPS signal quality from takeoff to landing. The aircraft touched down 9 minutes late, not an hour. While activists online tried to poke holes in Flight Radar 24, that they doubled down with the second statement. The telemetry is clear. No signal loss and no blackout. So anyway, it sounds to me like this whole thing, what you see, Moscow cries foul. Bottom line, EU got its headline about Russian interference. But von der Leyen's jet didn't circle for an hour. It didn't lose GPS and didn't need paper maps, according to all the stories about it. Flight Radar 24's data doesn't match the drama. So it looks to me like they're just trying to stir something up here and potentially either cause some sort of harm to her or her plane or something, or at least claim that that was what was going to happen, even if nothing ever happened to her, and blame Russia for everything. And they've kind of, they've kind of been called on the carpet a little bit here, because that's not at all what happened, according to Flight Radar 24. Anyway, that is an RT article. Macron's government is collapsing. Here's why Ukraine should worry. A 44 billion euro austerity gamble strikes in the streets and promises to Kiev about to go up in smoke. So I thought this was interesting only because it's Macron. And it says France in meltdown. How bad is it this time? Macron's friend, savior, or dead weight. I was looking to see if they even mentioned the whole Brigitte thing, but they don't in this article. So Macron's got his own problems, I guess. Talking about Ukraine and how it's tied into what's going on with Zelensky and all of that. So, yep, not good news for Macron. But that's fine with me. All messenger apps are transparent to spy agencies, according to the Kremlin. Governments and corporations should be aware of the risks associated with electronic communications. Yeah, well, might be a little late for that, I think. Messaging apps are absolutely transparent to intelligence agencies and security services, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said. People who use them to share sensitive information should be aware of the risks. All messengers are absolutely transparent systems. Messengers. I think he's talking about, well, here, he's mentioning specifically Telegram and WhatsApp. He added that it was particularly important to consider the risks when sensitive government or commercial data are shared through such apps, which can be accessed by foreign intelligence services, i.e., the Mossad, CIA, MI5, and MI6 in particular. The official was commenting on Telegram and WhatsApp in Russia, as well as on Russian government support for developing a domestic messaging platform. So this has to do with Russia specifically, I guess, but talking about WhatsApp, though, and Telegram. So if you guys are using that, just be aware. The Russians are saying that it's all been compromised to some degree, at least, through the intelligence agencies, which not that surprising. All right, and then I thought I would mention this just because, and I think I have before. Here is the UN report from 2000, the year 2000, called Replacement Migration. For the 10th time, people still call this a conspiracy. It should be called Erasure of the White Race by the Synagogue of Satan. So, obviously, we're not going to read through this. There's 177 pages here. But if you want to, or at least point people to it, if they say, oh, you're full of it because it doesn't exist and you're crazy, you can say, yes, replacement migration is actually a UN program, and here is the documentation if you don't believe me. So 177 pages, there it is. Replacement migration. Is it a solution to declining and aging populations? Well, obviously, the UN thinks so. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered coming up with this entire huge document. And it's written in Arabic, so you can understand it real well. Now, it is here in, I guess, in multiple languages, but complete with charts and pretty much everything here. So, yep, 177 pages of fun from the UN. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And I think I've linked to that before, but UN.org, this is an actual real document. So anyway, proposed Ohio bill would give utility companies control of customer thermostats. So for you Ohioans out there, and anyone else really, who happen to have a thermostat in your house, watch out. Lakewood, Ohio lawmaker, though, has proposed legislation that would allow utility companies to throttle your energy usage during periods of high demand, essentially giving control of customer thermostats over to the government. State Representative Roy Klopfenstein, that doesn't sound like a Presbyterian name, introduced House Bill 427, which he says will modernize Ohio's energy regulations and help homeowners and small businesses save money while improving electric grid reliability. Yes, it'll help them a whole lot by shutting it off. So your bill will go down because you won't be able to have air conditioning turned on or heat turned on. The legislation is a crucial step in our state's comprehensive plan to ensure all Ohioans have access to reliable, affordable, and readily available energy, says Representative Klopfenstein. So anyway, they want control over your thermostat. So I really, the main reason I wanted to bring this up was not that it's a surprise that the government wants to control your thermostat. Obviously, that's why it's called a smart thermostat, a smart home or whatever. They've always wanted to have control over it. My point in bringing this article up is if you have your thermostat connected to your Wi-Fi in your house, disconnect it, unhook it. It's not that hard to do. If it's hooked to your Wi-Fi in your house, they can have control over it at any point. So if you simply disconnect it and don't allow the Wi-Fi signal in your house to connect to your thermostat, that will be a really good first step. So just a little word of advice there to you guys. If you have never figured out how to hook up your thermostat to your Wi-Fi in your house, then don't do it. It's real simple. That's the first step. If you don't give them that connection, they can't control it. So it's not worth the possibility of giving them full control over your thermostat, if you ask me. Anyway, just a little tip, little friendly tip here from Mr. Doug. All right. So this was a huge story over the last few days. Although this happened on August 22nd, graphic video emerges of Ukrainian woman. Imagine that. A Ukrainian woman, a beautiful Ukrainian woman, being fatally stabbed in the U.S. Yes. 23-year-old Irina Zarutskaya was allegedly, he did it, killed by a homeless career criminal on a North Carolina train. So this has been a sick, twisted, and evil sort of story. And, it's what happens in the United States, unfortunately, these days, just showing how evil things are becoming. This is a perfect example of total evil on parade. This girl, here. Well, watch her. She's just leaving her job, gets on the subway here, and sits in front of this guy, puts her back to him, which I think is possibly the first mistake she made, other than sitting by him. And he decides out of nowhere he's going to grab his knife and stand up and stab her in the throat and kill her. And there he is afterwards with, I guess, her blood dripping off of the knife, and he's trying to conceal and figure out how to get off the train. And I don't know why people aren't scrambling around. They must not have noticed or heard her or something. See, he's taking his shirt off, trying to cover up what he did. And he does get off the train here pretty quick, but he is picked up pretty fast. It says police said that Zarutskaya collapsed in her seat and died at the scene. Brown, which was this guy, was arrested shortly afterward, has been charged with first-degree murder. Imagine that. Yes, but he is someone of the correct skin color, and it is a liberal area. Unfortunately, I would imagine that, he's probably going to get the benefit of the doubt, unfortunately, even though it's all on camera. So, and this is the, I think, one of the other most interesting parts of this whole story. According to a Elon Musk tweet earlier, I guess, there have been 0 AP stories on the deadly attack, 0 PBS stories on the deadly attack, 0 New York Times stories, 0 NPR stories, 0 Wall Street Journal stories, 0 BBC stories, 0 CNN stories, and 0 Washington Post stories on the attack. Because it was a black man attacking a white woman. You can imagine if it was white on black. It would be wall to wall, everywhere, all the time. You could never get away from it. But no, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That would be because the mainstream media has an agenda. That is, don't report it. If we don't report it, it didn't happen. So, anyway, I wanted you guys to be aware of that. Now, I'm not sure when this tweet happened. There may be a few mainstream media places that have picked it up eventually, but for the most part, you can see that it's 0 everywhere. So we'll look at that a little bit more as we move on tonight, but I just wanted to mention that, and the story is really evil. So this is something that I mentioned before several weeks ago, 31 Atlas. 31 Atlas. This is the, whatever it is, headed our direction. Now, this is a Substack that I was not really familiar with, so take that with a huge grain of salt. But here's what this says. Holy crap, the Death Star is real. Why NASA won't talk about 31 Atlas. Something the size of a city is hurtling through our solar system and breaking physics, according to this. Humanity is not ready. On July 1st, 2025, just 2 months ago, an object suddenly appeared in our telescopes that shouldn't exist. 31/Atlas was first spotted by NASA's Atlas Survey telescope in Chile. But here's the thing that should terrify you, and that's according to this, not me. No one has ever seen this object before. Think about that. We've been watching the skies for centuries. We track thousands of comets. We have catalogs going back decades. Comets don't just show up out of nowhere. They follow predictable orbits. We see them coming years in advance. We know where they've been. But 31/Atlas just appeared. One day, it wasn't there. The next, it was. The speed that shouldn't be possible. Again, according to this Substack post. This thing is moving at 58 kilometers per second. That's about 130,000 miles per hour. It's at its closest approach to the sun, it will be traveling at almost 25,000 kilometers per hour. For comparison, most comets travel at 20 to 30 kilometers per second. This object is moving twice as fast as it should be. It's traveling at hyperbolic velocity, meaning it's moving so fast that the sun's gravity can't capture it. It came from outside our solar system and it's leaving fast. But here's what's keeping me up at night. Where has it been for the last 80 years? The timeline that makes no sense. According to the data, if this object came from the Oort cloud, the edge of our solar system, it would have started its journey around 80 years ago, about 1945. Think about that for a moment. In Star Trek, humanity's first contact with aliens happens right after we demonstrate faster than light travel. Our first major technological leap, warp drive, I think they call it, that announces our presence to the galaxy. Here, in reality, we have something eerily similar. An unexplained object racing towards our solar system at the exact moment humanity demonstrates atomic power. 1945. Nuclear explosions create electromagnetic signatures that would be detectable across interstellar distances by any advanced civilization monitoring radio frequencies. We literally announced our presence to the universe with atomic fire, and something started moving toward us immediately. 80 years ago, we proved we had unlocked the fundamental forces of the universe. Now, exactly 80 years later, this impossible object appears. Coincidence? The odds are astronomical, but the timing should terrify you. Again, according to what they're saying here. It doesn't terrify me, but the trajectory that defies mathematics, 31 Atlas will pass closest to Earth on December 19th, just 4 months from now, at a distance of about 170 million miles. That sounds far, but in cosmic terms, it's practically brushing past us. On October 30th, it will reach its closest approach to the sun, passing just inside Mars' orbit. But here's the kicker. This object's trajectory takes it on a perfect tour of our inner planets, Mars, Jupiter, Earth, like someone plotted a course to get the best view of all of our worlds. The odds of a random interstellar object naturally following such a path are astronomical. We're talking millions to 1 against. What are the chances that a random object from deep space would accidentally take the perfect sightseeing tour of our solar system? The name that raises questions. Who named this thing Atlas and why? Atlas, the Titan condemned to hold up the heavens. Atlas, from which we get Atlantis, the lost civilization. In some traditions, Atlas is associated with forbidden knowledge, with beings who challenged the gods. I would say the fallen angels, personally, I think. It was named after the Atlas Survey telescope that found it, but still, of all the designations they could have chosen, why this one? Why a name that carries such mythological weight? The chemistry that screams artificial. Here's something that will blow your mind. The object is producing pure nickel with absolutely no iron. Why does that matter? Because in the entire universe, nickel and iron are created together. When massive stars explode in supernovas, they forge these metals simultaneously and blast them into space as cosmic twins. Every asteroid, every meteorite, every natural space object we've ever studied contains both nickel and iron together. It's like finding salt without sodium or water without hydrogen, it simply cannot happen naturally. But industrial manufacturing, that's a completely different story. When humans manufacture advanced smart metals like nickel titanium alloys, the stuff used in aerospace engineering, medical implants, and high-tech applications, the industrial process produces pure nickel waste and zero iron contamination. Why? Because iron would ruin the precise atomic structure these smart metals need to function. So the manufacturing process specifically removes every trace of iron, leaving behind pure nickel waste. The production rate we're seeing, 5 grams of pure nickel per second, and it's increasing as the object gets closer to the sun. 20 grams of cyanide per second, another industrial chemical used in metal refining and electroplating. So cyanide, wow. Here's the kicker. If you walked into any factory on Earth and detected these same exact chemical signatures and production rates, you wouldn't hesitate for a second. You'd immediately know you were looking at an advanced metallurgical facility. So why are we pretending it's different just because it's in space? So this goes on. I don't really want to spend the whole night on this, but you can see here that whoever wrote this up has put quite a bit of research and study into this whole thing. And so I didn't know if you guys were familiar with what was happening with the whole Atlas thing. What is it called? 3i Atlas. So anyway, this is a Substack post from Wise Wolf Media. So they make some good points there for sure, but I wanted to mention that because I thought that was pretty interesting, and they do bring up some really good points there. So we'll link to that in my Substack post as well, so make sure you're on that list. And then this one I thought was worth mentioning. Texas appeals 10 Commandments ruling, pushes for in-school prayer. Attorney General Ken Paxton filed an appeal on Tuesday to overturn an injunction currently blocking enforcement of a law requiring a copy of the 10 Commandments to be displayed in every public school classroom in the state. An August order from U.S. District Court Judge Fred Byrie stopped the law from taking effect in 11 of the state's school districts on Monday. Instead of a 3-judge panel, Paxton petitioned every active judge in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals to review the case. He described the 10 Commandments as a cornerstone of American law and the nation's moral heritage. There's no legal reason Texas can be stopped from honoring the core of American ethics, especially not the bogus idea of church and state separation, he said. That's right. They just can't force you to take part in a government religion. That's all. That's all it was ever about. Anyway, what is the status of the other states' 10 Commandment laws? Several other states continue to push similar laws. Arkansas, Louisiana are mentioned here, and Oklahoma. So, pretty interesting. Anyway, looks like Texas is trying to keep the 10 Commandments. How about that? And then, speaking of something similar here, Daily Signal article I found, prayer works according to science. So science is admitting that prayer works. So they finally caught up with reality. The role of prayer in civil society has emerged in the wake of the Annunciation Catholic School shooting, and this may be a blessing of sorts amidst the tragedy. This is because specific scientific research has shown time and time again that religious faith and the practice of prayer check pathologies and improve the quality of life on almost every level. However, politicians and commentators belittle thoughts and prayers, quote unquote, as ineffective in preventing other mass killings. Others, from Vice President J.D. Vance to Bishop Robert Barron to Franciscan University, were quick to emphasize prayer's importance in moments of anguish and darkness. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security even tweeted, quote, "Pray without ceasing." Yes, they did do that when that happened, when tragedy happened at the Catholic school. Both, in some sense, recognize a deep societal sickness has gripped America's youth for decades, albeit reaching different conclusions. Yet the precipitous rise in anxiety and depression among younger demographics has been coupled with the collapse of regular prayer and religious practice. This should not go unnoticed. The stock of scientific evidence shows prayer produces psychological benefits, reducing stress, loneliness, and fear, as well as increased connection to community. Religious people often live longer too. In short, those who pray are generally happier. How about that? Anyway, it goes on to talk about the whole Catholic school shooting and so forth. So I know, telling you something that you already know, but it's good to see that science is at least somewhat catching up with something that we already know about. Yes, pretty interesting. And then my good friend Anthony Patch calls prayer with Jesus Christ, he calls that quantum entanglement with Jesus Christ. I think that's very accurate. He said that years and years and years ago. It's always kind of stuck with me, though. All right, let's see here. I see a couple things pop up in chat here, so let me address that here in just a sec. All right, Leo Hohmann, a couple of new articles on his main site. First one here that I'll mention, the Epstein affair heating up again under pressure from Massey, Representative Massey, and 3 GOP congresswomen threatening to rock Washington to its core. Will we see a major distracting event go down if the Epstein story continues to gain traction and threatens the political careers of very powerful individuals? A group of Jeffrey Epstein abuse survivors stood on the steps of the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday announcing a bold new plan to release a list containing the names of all known associates of the billionaire pedophile. How about that? This is the list that the Trump White House doesn't want to be made public. The president is so adamant about, quote, moving on from this story that he bashed his own followers in July, calling them stupid and weaklings. He did do that. The entire Epstein investigation was a hoax perpetrated by Democrats, he said. But Epstein's survivors aren't backing off, and they showed their moxie on Wednesday at the Capitol. I think good for them. And good for Thomas Massey for giving them a voice. And I think several other congresswomen who stepped up as well. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, among others. And then speaking of Trump, this is the other big thing that happened over the last couple of days. Bill Gates gets wined and dined at the White House, brags about working with Trump on new gene-editing transhumanist technology. Why isn't this guy in jail? Why isn't he in prison somewhere? No, he's sitting next to Melania, having dinner. Less than a week after Trump posted a comment on Truth Social questioning the safety and effectiveness of the SharePod, and he did do that, he then invites Bill Gates and other tech bros to a state dinner at the White House to promote AI and gene editing, DNA-altering technology in partnership with the U.S. government. Isn't that lovely? Earlier this week, Trump posted a statement on his Truth Social account that had his base of MAGA supporters flying high. Trump appeared to be questioning for the first time the wisdom of the SharePod and the efficacy of the that it produced, promoted, and distributed in mass. He said that the data he received from Fears showed wonderful results, but that different data was circulating to the public, and he demanded answers as to which data was accurate. Well, let's see here. Use your common sense. His base went wild with enthusiastic cheerleading, but was this enthusiasm justified? Let's break it down. So that is a further article, just the intro piece here on leohoman.com. So yes, of course, is going to put out the best possible data. That's what they do. And yes, of course they're lying. That's what they do. Proven fact. because it's all about the bottom line. President Trump hosts Bill Gates at the White House, giving him a platform to spout his evil aspirations for AI-driven digital dystopia. After questioning earlier this week, Trump invites Gates to White House dinner and nods approvingly as Gates lays out dystopian vision for AI-controlled medical and food system. Yeah, that is not good, and that did happen. So this is also Leo Hohmann article, but that is on his Substack. So that's the entire post, which you can access through his Substack if you guys are interested in that. But yeah, it's very concerning and not at all that surprising. He tends to surround himself with people who want to destroy him, and he's really good at that. I don't know why, but yeah. And then they want to destroy all of us too, unfortunately. And we were talking about the AI data centers earlier. Well, here's an article on Natural News. The AI data center wars have begun. Farms, water, and electricity is stripped from humans to power the machines. That's exactly right. That's where it's going. The farms that once produced food for humans are being repurposed as land to build AI data centers and solar farms that produce no food at all. The water supplies that once ran your showers and dishwashers and toilets are being redirected to AI data center cooling systems, leaving humans with water scarcity and little remaining irrigation for growing food. The power grid that once supplied affordable energy to run your home computers, cook stoves, and lights is being redirected to power AI data centers and their servers. Agentic AI is on the verge of replacing 80% of white-collar jobs. You thought I was joking earlier when I said your job's going to get replaced? 80% of white-collar jobs. A few years later, AI robots will replace the vast majority of human labor. So they're coming for all of it. You are being exterminated and replaced, which is why I wanted to show you the replacement migration document earlier from the UN that I mentioned. The era of humans as a measure of national strength is rapidly coming to an end. In its place is the era of machine intelligence, which needs no farms, no food, and no humans. It needs electricity and water, and it will take priority over humans' use of those resources. Most humans lack the intelligence to recognize what is happening. They will be the easy ones for the machines to exterminate through controlled scarcity of food, water, and electricity. The food supply infrastructure is being dismantled because machines don't need food, and the future has no plans for large human populations that need feeding. That is why Canada is nuking its own forests with glyphosate, rendering the land unusable for growing food, but perfectly sterile for use by data centers and machines. It's also why Americans are being priced out of quality, nutritious food so that few people will be able to afford to eat anything other than nutritionally depleted, ultra-processed foods, making them highly susceptible to the toxins engineered into the DIY, quote, extermination sprays. So, and it goes on. This is all very true and absolutely what is unfolding right now. AI data centers. Bad news. So don't let them tell you otherwise, and don't let them sell it to you in any other way. It's there to replace us. Plain and simple. And then Wine Press also covered the whole Trump dinner. Trump hosts dinner with 33 tech elites, including Gates, who lauded new AI for farmers and replacing doctors. So, yep. That's where they want to go with it. In part, at least. Of course, that's only the public part that you get to hear them talking about. So let's see here. Fortune provided a list of all those in attendance, a short bio of their accomplishments. This includes Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Tim Cook, the Microsoft CEO, and White House AI and crypto czar and original member of the PayPal Mafia, David Sachs. CTO and EVP of Palantir, and the Oracle CEO. So that's who all was there, at least in part. The big names. So, yep, not looking good. Anyway, there's a video embedded here if you guys are interested in looking at that. But it's just got Gates talking and people actually listening to him, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, that's a Wine Press Substack article is what that is. All right, let's see here. Let's keep moving. We've got a few articles here on the Gateway Pundit that I wanted to mention. Liberal media attempting to cover up the horrific public stabbing murder of Ukrainian refugee by a black bum with multiple prior arrests. Story absent from CNN, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, AP, and more. Yeah, this is exactly what I mentioned earlier. 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee murdered by 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown. Yeah, and she was murdered simply for being white. There she is, by the way. You can't really tell with her sitting in this seat here and with the, baseball cap on and stuff, but there she is, and says Democrat Party at every level, judges, politicians, academics, nonprofits, is organized around the defense and protection of the criminal, the monstrous, and the depraved. The more vile the threat, the more vociferously the Democrat Party works to protect and enable it. Yeah, here's all of the... This is the same guy here. This is the killer. And you can see, these are just a few of his headshots from when he was arrested. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here, and looks like there's another 7 pictures below that. So Daily Mail noted the shocking story is notably absent from U.S. liberal media sites, including New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Associated Press, and CNN. Yeah, it doesn't fit their narrative. Black man kills white woman. Doesn't fit their narrative. They won't report on it, and if they don't, then it didn't happen. Tell that to her parents. So sick. But that is exactly the truth. That's exactly what's going on. So anyway, that is a Gateway Pundit article. And speaking of stabbings, they continue here. Burning Man, the crazy party they have out in the desert. Burning Man murder mystery. Victim identified. Throat slashed with a knife. Just like the poor lady on the train here. Burning Man 2025 was marred by monsoonal storms, windstorms, and a grisly murder. Yeah, the whole storm thing that happened seemed like that was definitely a geoengineered setup from what I could tell. It looked like anyway, especially given how it's happened multiple years in a row now. A homicide investigation is underway after a man was found dead in a pool of blood at Burning Man last Saturday. Tens of thousands of burners flocked to the Nevada desert this year to engage in debauchery. Again, more signs that we are indeed living in the end times, if you ask me. Burning Man is a yearly drug-infested music and art festival in northern Nevada in Black Rock City. Interesting name. Attendees engage in sexually degenerate activities such as, quote, whippings by a dominatrix priestess. Oh, isn't that nice? Circle JERKSs, and a few other things, including orgies. Wow. A man murdered at Burning Man this year was identified as a 37-year-old Russian man named Vadim Kruglov. His throat was slashed by a large blade. Wow. Suspect is still at large. So there he is. Sincerely asking for your help. Right now it's very important that everyone gets involved to help us. Talking about some of the details of the crime. Interesting that he was a Russian. Wow. The dead guy found at this year's Burning Man had a large wound. The sources tell us the knife's being forensically examined. So they must have the weapon, I guess. So, wow. Last week, a wicked dust storm kicked up on the first day of the festival this year and ruined campsites. Winds reached more than 45 miles per hour, according to a spokesperson for Burning Man. The Orgy Dome was also completely destroyed by the windstorm. So there you go. Burning Man, day 0, worst storm in history. So I guess they're happy about that. I think it was the worst storm in history last year, too, when they all got flooded out. Anyway, yeah, I remember last year a bunch of people got stuck in the monsoon there that happened with all of the rain and mud and everything. What a mess. I guess you're asking for trouble because if you go to something like that, that's, well, obviously now you got people being murdered, but that is pretty crazy. Anyway, that's a Gateway Pundit article. This one I thought was sad just because this is how people tend to think. Trump administration looking at ways to ban transgender people from purchasing firearms following recent school shootings. That is not the answer. You can't ban entire groups of people just because they happen to be in a certain group and keep them from owning guns. What if they decided, we don't like white people and white people shouldn't own guns or whatever? So this is a very slippery slope and a seriously bad path to go down. I don't think that Trump administration would be able to do this because it's completely unconstitutional. Trump administration is considering a bold action. No, it's illegal. That will undoubtedly spark a significant debate about public safety and Second Amendment in the wake of the recent school shootings. Well, again, the guns aren't the problem. It's the drugs in most cases. But you don't see people calling for the banning of the drugs. No, it's the banning of the guns that they go after. So anyway, this is kind of self-explanatory, I guess, but thought it was kind of interesting that you got Trump and his people out there saying, oh yeah, we need to not let trans people have guns. Well, that's not the answer. Anyway, that is a Gateway Pundit article. And then outrage after Austin, as in Texas, spends 2 years and $1.1 million to rebrand the city with a new woke logo that removes the Christian references. So that makes perfect sense. We're talking about Austin, Texas here. People were outraged after the city of Austin spent 2 years and $1.1 million to rebrand with a new logo. It removed the Christian cross and replaced it with what appears to be an AI-generated A, and it has cost over $1 million. $1 million. So here it is here. Update. Austin, Texas is facing major backlash after wasting, they spelled wasting wrong, $1.1 million to replace its traditional logo featuring a cross for the new modern design that looks like a homeless tent. So, yeah, they got the green and blue A's, and they're saying that they might have used AI. So this right here cost them $1.1 million. I could have done that for about, and mine probably would have been better. I probably could have done that for $25. They could have just called me and saved about $1 million. Anyway, pretty silly. Yeah, I've done a few logos in my time. So anyway, I just thought that was funny. This is the new and improved version, supposedly. This is the former version. They took the cross out and the wings, I guess, I don't know, eagle wings or what, but City of Austin, founded 1839. They took the shield out and all that stuff. So if you live in Texas, most know Austin is run by liberal leaders. They just released a new logo change to take Christianity out of the Austin logo. The one on the left is the new woke Cracker Barrel logo. It says, yeah, that's kind of what it is. But I've got an article about it. I don't think Cracker Barrel is actually going to do the change now, so we're going to look at that here in just a minute. So we're talking about old Joe a little bit ago, and his little problem he's got on his head may have been removal of some cancer or something. We don't really know. Well, It's worse than that. Joe Biden has decided to build his presidential library in Delaware. He is certainly going to need luck finding it. Thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, so I kind of automatically go to, okay, well, what could possibly be in the Joe Biden library? I mean, that is such a huge amount of, like, comedy gold. I can't even begin to tell you. One of the major challenges for Biden and his loyalists is going to be funding the project. When Biden dropped out of the 2024 race, many people, including a lot of Democrats, suggested that no one is going to want to donate funds to such a project. That sentiment became even stronger after Trump won. One also has to wonder what is going to be showcased in the library. His disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan? His horrible handling of the economy? Photos of illegals pouring across the open southern border? Or maybe just the auto pin? Yeah, I think they should have an entire wing dedicated to the Hunter Biden laptop. That would be funny. Now, there's so many things that you could say about this, but yeah, apparently they're actually going to build a presidential library, even though he was technically never president. I guess that doesn't matter. Pretty silly. Biden's team has the daunting task of raising money for the legacy project at a moment when his party has become fragmented about the way ahead and many Democrat donors have stopped writing checks. It also remains to be seen whether corporations or institutional donors will have historically donated to presidential library projects regardless of the party of the former president will be more hesitant to contribute, with Donald Trump aligning Biden on a daily basis and savaging groups that he deems left-leaning. Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess they could have the Hunter Biden laptop wing. I don't know what else they would do. And then this one, Speaker Johnson, as in Mike Johnson, clarifies comments claiming Trump was an FBI informant in the Epstein case. So yes, that did kind of slip out. Speaker Mike Johnson appeared to walk back his statements on Trump working as an FBI informant in the Epstein case. How about that? Last week, CNN reporter asked Speaker Johnson why President Trump keeps calling the Epstein case a hoax. He says, what he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this, why didn't they do something during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden Department of Justice had all the records, Johnson said to reporters on Thursday. Johnson, what Trump is referring to is the hoax that Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've even talked to him about this many times. He's horrified. It has been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has a great sympathy for the women that have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. What he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this, why didn't they do something about it during the 4 years of the Biden administration when they had all the records? They didn't say a word about it. Now they're doing it for political purposes. Not everybody, but a lot of them, and that's what the president's frustrated about, and we all are. They're creating the hoax just like they did with the Russian dossier because they think it's going to somehow be mud thrown on him. It's not. He has no culpability in this thing at all. The president has clean hands. He wants all the records out. He's told me that himself. So says Mike Johnson. Speaker Johnson, who, by the way, maybe, I don't know, if you can't really tell in this picture, but you guys have seen him before. Have you ever noticed, I just put these two things together. Have you ever noticed that Speaker Mike Johnson looks exactly like Bob's Big Boy? It's uncanny. So there he is. Speaker Mike Johnson is also Bob's big boy. How is that possible? I don't know. I just noticed it. Yeah, and then let's see here. This is the Karen Phillies fan here. Baseball fans are outraged after a woman chased down dad to get a home run ball from a kid, but here's the happy ending. And we mentioned this earlier. I just thought I would mention that it is on Not the Bee, of course. They covered it in all of its glory or non-glory. But yeah, there's a new Karen, which it looks an awful lot like Elizabeth Warren, but I guess it is Elizabeth Warren. Might as well be, because they are one and the same. Look at it, see if there's a close-up of her. I guess there's not really. There's an AI-generated photo of her, but you can kind of get the idea. Anyway, fun with AI, I guess, is what they're doing with these photos. But yeah, Not to Be is definitely on target on this one. So we mentioned that earlier. I won't bother going back to that one again tonight, but it is there. And then I mentioned this one too. Hot Mike, Putin and Xi discuss life extension, possible immortality during the Beijing summit. Yes, it's called organ harvesting. That's what they were talking about. So this is on modernity.news. So feel free to look at that if you guys are interested. Modernity.news, and then Cracker Barrel, I mentioned this a minute ago. New card data shows exactly why Cracker Barrel pivoted back to the old logo. According to what this is saying, shareholders of Cracker Barrel learned very abruptly last month just how toxic wokeism is. What many are calling the woke mind virus has infected top levels of management, becoming a major liability for the brand and potentially threatening the very existence of the restaurant chain. You can see the share dropping. This is the CEO. And then this is the old versus the new. Took less than a week for the restaurant chain to pivot back. And yet, it is another marketing blunder for corporate America. Yeah, they keep making the same mistakes as Bud Light did. Anyway, but according to this, they're saying that Cracker Barrel's not going to go that far. So I guess that's good news. If that's indeed true. So we will wait and see. Are there Cracker Barrels where you guys live? There's definitely a few around here where I live. So I'll try and keep my eyes on it and let you know if it gets changed. But I can tell you that people around here certainly would not want it to change. So anyway, modernity.news, and then a couple of InfoWars articles. Speaking of the what we've been talking about a lot tonight, with people just killing each other for no reason. Well, here's another one. Shock video. This happened just earlier today. Woman executed by homeless suspect blocks from Philadelphia City Hall. Victim shot dead during a scuffle in downtown Philly. Horrific killing comes amid national outrage over murder of Ukrainian refugee by career criminal. Well, this is a different one. And note the skin color of the person doing the shooting there. We'll probably be hearing about this one. Let's just put it that way. The skin color isn't exactly the same as the guy that did the stabbing of the Ukrainian girl. A woman was shot dead in broad daylight on a busy sidewalk just 1,000 feet from Philadelphia City Hall this weekend. The shocking incident unfolded just before 6 on Friday. Woman and a homeless guy were seen arguing outside of a downtown 7-Eleven. During the altercation, the woman reportedly drew a pistol in which the man wrestled away from her. Footage shot by a witness shows the pair grappling as several shots are fired. Yeah, then he just shoots her. The male suspect can be seen viciously beating the woman as another woman runs up to attempt to intervene. And then the victim appears to briefly pull herself off the ground before the man discharges at least 2 rounds at point-blank range. So this is what we're doing now, apparently. Just killing people randomly. So I just wanted to mention that just because it's getting more and more evil out there, it seems like. And then this is the big story here, obviously. Ex-users blast complete media blackout of brutal murder of Ukrainian refugee by a homeless career criminal. And social media users blasted the legacy media for ignoring the brutal murder of Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska, stabbed to death in North Carolina. So anyway, kind of covered that one at length tonight, but yeah, it's stories everywhere. And then you might be in California if shock video, mob of masked thugs crash truck into California jewelry shop and attack the elderly owner. The 88-year-old shopkeeper reportedly suffered a stroke during the smash and grab heist. There he is here. You can see he's the only one of that particular skin color, non-dark. 88-year-old man suffered a stroke after being attacked by a crowd of armed thieves who stormed into his jewelry store in California this weekend. The brazen smash and grab heist unfolded at around 2 o'clock in San Jose. San Jose is basically San Francisco. So yeah, that is so sad. So he lost everything and had a stroke. Because why wouldn't he? He had smash and grabbers coming into his store all at the same time. He probably thought they were going to kill him. Says the same day, masked marauders targeted a Rolex shop in Chicago, making off with more than $260,000 in stolen watches. Wow. So it appears to be getting worse week by week. Not good. VaccineImpact.com, just some of the most recent headlines here. The newest article, What is Written on Your Heart? The Spiritual Written Language of the Heart. So that one might be interesting. After turning churches into clinics, Franklin Graham now defends the HHS Secretary Kennedy. How many lives did Samaritan's Purse destroy during... Look, Samaritan's Purse is Franklin Graham's ministry. Wow. Here's one about Epstein. Actually, 2 articles about that. And then Trump's tariff threats are uniting the world against the United States. Yeah, so there's that. So those are some of the top stories here, top articles, newest ones on vaccineimpact.com. GeoWatch for this week. Chemical skies for September 6th. Raining, hell, apocalyptic flash floods, seas of icy fog, and frozen battlefields. How wars could be fought with weaponized weather. Extreme weather could be weaponized to fight World War III, say military experts. Geoengineering a moral hazard or possibly a useful tool. Sounds like some of the people that Mr. Dane has talked about, some of the geoengineers like Ken Caldera and some of the others. A useful tool, really, question mark, to be used by who? To be used against who? And for what ultimate objective? Climate, chemical, and biological warfare in our skies isn't just a dangerous proposal. It is a decades-long, ongoing, catastrophic reality. The latest installment of Global Alert News is below. So, anyway, yeah, David Keith, Ken Caldera, some of the main, most well-known geoengineers are mentioned. So, yeah, GeoWatch for this week. So, Global Alert News. And then, let's see, the scheduled weather for this, well, not really this week, but it's from the 13th through the 17th. Looks like this, above normal in pretty much the middle part of the U.S. and below or more normal in the extreme eastern part. So again, they're keeping the eastern half of the U.S. cool pretty much. Below normal or near normal. Where I am, and then all the way as far over as New York and Maine and extreme northeastern Florida and so forth. So, yeah, it's going to be cooler, I guess, a little cooler than normal for much of that area. September 13th through the 17th, that is the scheduled weather coming up, but it's going to be above normal in much of the rest of the, certainly Midwest and West. So, not too exciting, but that is the way it is. ClimateAndEconomy.com, some of the top headlines here. World meat prices reach new high as consumers clamor for beef, whilst global cattle supplies dwindle. And we covered that earlier as far as why is all that happening now? It's a plan. Arctic heat. The Arctic island, Jan Mayen, had a medium summer temperature of 44 degrees. Its warmest summer since observations began in 1921. Wow. 44.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Old record is 6.4 C, and this year it was 6.7 C. Latvia faces one of its toughest agricultural seasons in years. Isle of Man in the UK has experienced its warmest summer on record. UK suffers worst ever year for wildfires, set to eclipse 1,000 wildfires in the UK. So you don't really hear about these things on mainstream media. They just ignore it. A swarm of jellyfish has caused major disruption in one of France's largest nuclear power plants for the second time in a month. Jellyfish. Wow. Here's another glacier. What's left of the largest glacier in the Pyrenees. Portugal, record heat. Sierra Leone. Yep. More of the same. Looking to see where the flooding is. There's bound to be that. Yep. Floods affect over 4 million people in Pakistan. And New Delhi. And China. So flooding all over the place here. Sichuan. I think that's China as well. Tornadoes in Japan. So, again, we don't really hear about this stuff. There's a lot of linked articles here on climateandeconomy.com. Here's BC. BC wildfires force more evacuations. Local state of emergency. After British Columbia, historic warmth in the Yukon. So you got more warmth. Alaska, record warmth. So it is happening. The warm is happening. And I think Mr. Dane would call it climate collapse. Abrupt climate collapse or climate shift. Storms slam Wichita with huge hail and violent winds. Looks like chemical ice nucleation, perhaps. Creating those golf ball sized and maybe slightly larger sized hail. Yeah, golf balls, baseballs. In Wichita. So, wow, Kansas. Anyway, just a few of the top headlines on climateandeconomy.com. There's a few things you don't really ever hear about. Now, this is something that I mentioned earlier on my Facebook posts earlier today when it was happening. Did you know that there was a blood moon today? There was, and we didn't get to witness it at all in this part of the world, not in the West at all, really. But it was really interesting, and I watched the entire thing, believe it or not, because you could watch it on YouTube. And I thought it was really interesting. Mostly, it affected the people who were in the best seats in the house, as it were primarily Asia and most of Africa, and then Eastern Europe in particular. And you could even throw in Australia and I guess probably New Zealand and some of those areas, even Indonesia and so forth. But yeah, it was quite the spectacle. Blood moon eclipse over Israel. Yeah, Israel would have been part of that as well. And that's exactly what it looked like. And I found out about it because I happened to be on this website earlier today called timeanddate.com, and I just stopped it on one of the screenshots here. This is a shot of a telescope pointed at the moon from Dubai, and you can see how red it was. Blood moon phase, total lunar eclipse, where the moon turns a dark shade of red, and it lasted about an hour and 22 minutes. So yeah, I actually watched it, and it was live streamed from multiple places, multiple camera angles through this website. Well, it's a YouTube channel, but I'm just saying through this website called timeanddate.com. And it says the full eclipse of what they're calling a full corn moon will be visible from Australia, Asia, Africa, and Europe. Yeah, not from the U.S. at all. But I thought it was really interesting, and it was quite spectacular, actually. They had some really good close-ups of it. But it is interesting, though, that they're saying in this particular article, darkness over the Holy Land. Yes. So on this site, it was mostly, I'm trying to think where all they were. Cyprus and United Arab Emirates. I think that was primarily where they were. It seemed like they might have had maybe a camera in Germany as well, and maybe a couple other places, but they were not in the Holy Land per se, but that's what this article's about, which is interesting in its own way, that blood moon eclipse over Israel. So take that for what it's worth, I suppose. So yeah, that was all earlier today. Today, U.S. time. Sunday night over there. So, and then that was Israel 365 article. Yeah, and then this one was YouTube embed here on this site, timeanddate.com, which is a pretty good site. They do a good job, actually, with the eclipses and all of that. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on if you guys are interested in that. So, yeah. And then, let's see. I think we reached the end of the articles. Let me see if I've missed any further comments. I don't see anything. Yeah, and thanks, Emily, for posting the various links for the Diamond Report in chat. So those are there. Yeah, so we do have, you might notice that I do have the running chat as good as I can make it happen in this platform that I'm using for live streaming. It only shows really the most recent comments, I guess, in that area over there in the bottom right part of the screen, but at least it's there. So it is kind of cool that it's an option for me to have it on screen at least, so that's good. So make sure you follow along on the Diamond Report on X. I find a lot of interesting and cool things to tweet and retweet about. I guess it's called post and repost about now. There's some good stuff out here for sure. I thought this was kind of funny. Got the guy with the glasses here looking down over the glasses, and he sees Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, but then he puts his glasses on and realizes what he's actually seeing is reptiles. Let's see. One day many will hang their heads in shame when they realize the evil they defended and the heroes that they ridiculed. I tried to follow the science, but it was simply not there. Then I followed the money. That's where I found the science. Thought that was good. I like how even on X, if you post anything about the moon landing being faked, they always give you the added context and basically just say that that's not true, that it's all real. But it's hilarious because you watch the playback here, and they've kind of sped it up a little, but you can see how stupid it is. Just the whole thing. He's taking that flag stand and pounding the lower part down into the quote moon, and then they put the other piece on top of it. It just looks so ridiculously fake. Part of it is that I think they sped it up a little bit, perhaps. It says when you watch it back, you actually laugh at yourself for ever believing it in the first place. So anyway, and you can see 1984 George Orwell here writing, and then the British government sort of looking over his shoulder. That's pretty much exactly what's going on. Oh yeah, and then don't forget about this. We had the 2020 kids in bubbles playing their saxophones and so forth. And if you can just print money, then why am I paying taxes? Well, you're not supposed to ask that question, I guess. The left, RFK Jr. is too anti-science. Also the left. Men can get pregnant. Yeah. So anyways. Yep. And then this kind of sums it up too. CNN, was the shooter trans? Yes. Well, then I've lost interest, CNN says. That's pretty much true. And it goes the same for a black on white crime. These are the demons involved with the... Never forget. Oh, and look who's in here. Charles. So make sure you're following along. The Diamond Report on X, the Diamond RPRT, and find some good stuff to tweet and retweet or post and repost on there. And then this is a Substack, diamonddisc.substack.com. So make sure you're on that list as well. You could drop your email address in and subscribe pretty easily on there. And if you want to contribute to what I'm doing, did have one new person sign up to do that. So thank you. You know who you are. And I think though they are on Subscribestar though. So we're at a whopping, I think, 15 people helping now total. And that was 7 on Subscribestar and I think 8 on Substack. So thank you guys for helping out a little bit with the cost of the show, production time, and equipment and software, and paying for all that stuff out of pocket, of course. So thank you guys very much for helping support the Diamond Report and what I'm doing. And yeah, Subscribestar/Diamond Disc. That will also be on the crawler across the bottom there, subscribestar.com/Diamond Disc. You can support the show and what I'm doing from there. And then another really great way to support what I'm doing that's totally free and much appreciated, and that is to please subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube. They keep knocking my subscriber numbers down on YouTube. I'll lose 2 or 3 a week. It seems like I'll get 2 or 3 a week and then lose 2 or 3 a week. So I kind of don't really change much on the subscriber numbers on YouTube in particular, but you can definitely subscribe there, as well as on Rumble, BitChute, and Brighteon. Those are also other options if you happen to be on those platforms. There's BitChute, Diamond Disc on BitChute, Diamond Disc on Rumble. Diamond Disc is my business name. But you can also just go there and do a search for the Diamond Report. It should come up. It's also available on Brighteon, which is Mike Adams' platform. It's a good alternative as well. And I did notice, for you Brighteon users out there, you know who you are. You can, I guess, somehow use Brighteon links again on Facebook. You didn't used to be able to do that. You would get a warning saying that, you know, the world's about to end if you try and paste this link into a Facebook post. But now you don't get the warning. They've apparently done away with the blocking of Brighteon.com links, video links, on Facebook. So I did notice that just a couple weeks ago. So if you happen to be on Brighteon and you want to share my videos, you should be able to at least do that on Facebook. I still don't think, though, that you can share Brighteon video links on X. It's still blocked on there for some weird reason. But make sure you're in the band group as well, and got lots of great people in that group and people in there just sharing information. And I always say, remember, though, it's not a dating site. It's just where you can go and share information and meet like-minded folks. So that's what that's about. So, yeah, make sure you're in the band group, band.us, and Miss Emily has posted the link there in the chat, band.us/@the-Diamond-Report. So, I was looking to see if I missed any additional comments or anything. I don't think I did. So, thank you guys for being here tonight. We do have, another video or so here. I've got, oh yes, I do have one more Reese Report video that I didn't want to play to start the show because of the, let's just say the video footage in it may be a little not okay on YouTube. And if I would have started the show with it, there's a good chance it could have shut my live stream down. So, but I will stop the show or end the show with it, just because I do think it's worth watching, because so many things have come out of this. It's called Forensic Study Finds that Christ Church. So again, we're going back, revisiting here something from several years ago now, when a guy supposedly live streamed himself doing a massive attack on this mosque and shooting all these different people. Well, according to what Greg is reporting here, that they're talking about according to this forensic study, and he makes a lot of really good points in it. But again, I didn't want to play this video and then have the footage come up as something that's been banned on YouTube and have my live stream ended. Now, it may not happen. That may not be what happens, but I didn't want to take a chance. So anyway, we'll close the show with that, because I do think it's important that you see it and that you hear how the entire thing looks like it was staged. Now, we know that they do this. It's not really a surprise. But I think they've been caught on this one in particular. So it is definitely an interesting video, so stay tuned for that. And I guess we can wrap it up for tonight. We got 12:40 a.m. currently, so might as well end it here. We do have another show coming up next Sunday, which will be the 14th, September 14th, so that will be the next Diamond Report Live. We'll go 2 to 3 hours again. I usually say that, but it generally runs about 3 hours. So that will be 14th of September, starting at 10 p.m. Central. So if you want to be here, you are more than welcome to be. I'm glad you guys were here with me tonight, and I guess my voice held out the whole time. I wasn't sure that it would, but it did. So yes, thank you guys for prayers for myself and for my family, and I mentioned what that was all about earlier in the show. So it's been an interesting last couple weeks around here for sure. But we're glad that everybody's still around, and that we're still functioning as well as we can given the circumstances, and we do ask that you continue to pray for us, and I'll be praying for you guys as well. So blessings to you all, and thank you again for being here tonight and hanging out with me. Really appreciate it, and still do, and we'll do it again next week, I guess. That's what I always kind of come back to, is as long as I'm around, I should be here, and we'll do it all again next week, 10 p.m. Central, starting on Sunday next week. So, yeah, we will attack it again at that point. So definitely stay tuned for this next video. It is another Reese report. Forensic study finds that the Christ Church, it's so according to what this video is talking about. So definitely something to keep in mind. And, we know they stage stuff like this, and I think they've been caught red-handed on this one. So love you guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.